What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Heat Check podcast. If you didn't catch yesterday's episode, stop, go back, watch it now. I'm not going to deal with that late stuff. You got to be on time here. You cannot watch this episode without watching the previous one. So go back, watch it now. Good. You watched it? Welcome to the fantasy episode, all right? I know a lot of people out there, they don't really do fantasy football, but here we love it. It's one of our greatest pride and joys here. We got rankings every single week, studs of the week, waiver wire pickups. Yes, we didn't forget about that. Last week we didn't do it because we didn't really have nothing to base off of. So we're going to come back with that this week. Let's get straight into the business with our stud of the week. I'm going to go Derrick Henry. If you saw last episode, then you know that I had this as my game of the week. Derrick Henry, he's going to be the X factor here. I don't think this Hawks defense is going to have any sort of response to the rushing phenomenon that is Derrick Henry. Rushed for 2,000 yards last year. Honestly, could do it in one game against the Seattle Seahawks right now. That's how bad I think this defense is. But I do think Derrick Henry is going to headline week 2 with the biggest performance. Easily, in my opinion. I think this Seahawks defense is going to have a problem. Is going to have a big problem defending Derrick Henry.
My start of the week this week is going to be a pretty big underdog. I'm going with DK Metcalf. This is going to be a shootout, just like every game against the Titans will be, and the Seahawks have a bad defense too. So this is two bad defenses setting up for a big receiving game for DK Metcalf. He had a bad week last week for fantasy. If you started you probably were very excited with his performance. It wasn't too bad, but I'm pretty sure he did get into the end zone. But he didn't do that bad, and I think he's going to come out here and break out this week, probably for some big plays. Like I said, this is going to be a shootout, and I think it's going to be going towards DK Metcalf this week instead of Lockett.
All right, and from that, we've got some big guys. I think Derrick Henry should be at the top of your running back rankings list. So without further ado, let's get straight into that. Who is going to dominate on the ground today?
Do not tell me to put anyone besides Christian McCaffrey at number 1 ever. I don't care who he's playing. You could bring back the steel curtain from the 70s. I would still put him as my number 1 running back. Christian McCaffrey, he's playing New Orleans. It doesn't matter who he's playing. He had 27 PPR points without a touchdown last week. 9 targets, 9 receptions. This guy is the fantasy GOAT, maybe. He could have another record season just like he did in 2019. I mean, he came back strong. If you were worried about any sort of McCaffrey slowing down if you drafted him number 1, you got nothing to worry about. You could be cruising to a championship. It doesn't matter who else you have in your roster. He's going to be a 25-point-a-week player, especially, I mean, he didn't even get in the end zone. Imagine he got in the end zone twice this week. That's a 38-point performance. I mean, I don't care who he's playing. Like I said, number 2, Alvin Romero. Same game, playing against Carolina. I think this game is going to favor the running backs a lot. I think it's not going to be the fastest of games. I mean, it's two offenses that New Orleans didn't struggle last week, but I don't see Jameis repeating that performance. Kamara got into the end zone last week. I think he does it again this week. Number 3, don't know Henry. I'm going with Nick Chubb going against this is Nick Chubb. It's the Texans. He got in the end zone twice, and this is just the most optimal matchup you can ask for. Number 4, I'm going with Derrick Henry. Finally, versus the Seahawks. Bounce back week for him. I mean, he got robbed. Well, he didn't get robbed. He cheated himself out of a touchdown last week. If you're a Derrick Henry owner, I know how painful that was to watch. He had a couple inches to get, and he couldn't get it. On 2 carries on the goal line, he didn't get it. Tannehill ended up running an option and running it in. I was a Derrick Henry owner last year. I had to watch that movie a million times. I know how painful that was for you Derrick Henry owners, but don't be worried. Don't sell Derrick Henry. Do not trade him. Do not be scared. It is Derrick Henry, and he will always produce fantasy points. He will best volume back you could ask for. At number 5, I'm going to go with Alvin Cook. He's playing the Cardinals this week. Cardinals defense looked very good. But here's the best against the run. They probably are not going to repeat this against you could say high powered, but I mean it is a good offense in Minnesota. Dalvin 20 PPR points last week. He did get into the end zone, luckily, because Justin Jefferson barely missed out on a touchdown. But it's Dalvin Cook. He's going to produce. He's getting the volume. this offense looked pretty good against the Bengals, so I think they can do it again. Number 6, let's go Aaron Jones against Detroit. He should be even higher maybe because we all know what happened last year when Aaron Jones played against Detroit. How about 45 PPR points? I mean, if that happens again, you won your week. If he even gets 40 points, I mean, you're good. We saw Elijah Mitchell run pretty well against Detroit last week, so why can't Aaron Jones? I mean, this is a great matchup. Got him at number 6. Number 7, let's go with Joe Mixon. The biggest surprise of week 1, Joseph Mixon, coming in as the running back 2 last week. I mean, this guy, I think he got 25 carries. I mean, that is impressive, man. A lot of people were high on Joe Mixon this year, and you were right. I mean, hopefully this continues. No more Gio Bernard. He is getting all the pass work, and he's got Chicago this week, who struggled last week against the Rams. So I think we see Mixon dominate. I think he dominates throughout the entire season. But don't be fooled because he has played this card before. I mean, hopefully he doesn't fall down a cliff like he did in years past. But number 8, let's go with my guy Najee versus the Raiders. Great matchup. The Raiders, they held their own last week on defense, but I mean, we saw Tyson Williams get into the end zone. We saw Latavius Murray get into the end zone, and Najee, you're not gonna have to worry about anyone stealing his touchdowns. 100% workload. 100% of the snaps. He was on the field as much as Ben Roethlisberger was, the quarterback. When's the last time we've seen something like this out of a rookie? I mean, this is so exciting. He had 6 points last week, but I do not care. That is the biggest thing to me. You look for a workhorse running back when you're drafting in fantasy. And, I mean, this is the definition right here. Look for a breakout of Najee this week, and he's going to climb into the top 5 by the end of the season. I'm calling that right now. Number 9, Ezekiel Elliott going against the Chargers. Don't be afraid if you're a Zeke owner. The game script was not in his favor against the Buccaneers. You don't run the ball 20 times with Zeke Elliott against the Buccaneers. They had to throw the ball. I mean, you're playing against one of the best offenses that we've ever seen, and they just have one of the best front sevens. I mean, you got Vita Vea, all of those guys getting in Zeke's face, and Zeke had an 82% snap share. So you don't got to worry about the volume. Tony Pollard was out there a lot. Tony Pollard caught a few passes. I think he ended up with more points than Zeke Elliott, actually. But, I mean, Zeke's going to be the guy, man. Just don't worry. He's got the Chargers this week. He's going to have a break, and I think he does well. Number 10, Taylor. He has a tough matchup, but we saw this guy perform last week, 18 PPR points. A lot of people were worried about Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack didn't barely see the field. I mean, Taylor has earned this job. He earned it last year, and he is running away with a good amount of carries last week. I expect him to at least be serviceable against the Rams this week, but he has that breakout potential as he is one of the biggest play running backs that we have in the NFL. Number 11, Austin Eckler versus the Cowboys. We saw Eckler get 20 carries last week, which is very surprising to me. We saw Larry Roundtree come in, take some carries. I got Eckler a little bit lower than some people like to say. And the Cowboys, good matchup. Did get into the end zone, but I want to see some more pass work out of Eckler. This we get as much as last week. Number 12, David Montgomery. I mean, you talk about this guy poised. He is a hard runner. He showed out versus the Rams last week. And who does he get this week? Cincinnati Bengals. You got to play Montgomery this week. I think he has a great week. Number 13, give me DeAndre against the Packers run defense. Swift is going to be getting dink and dunks all day from Jared Goff, like we saw last week. He's a big play machine on those little screen passes. I mean, that guy can just get around people and get into the end zone. Number 13, I'm going with Chris Carson going against Tennessee on the opposite side of the ball as Derrick Henry. Like you said, it's going to be a shootout. Every fantasy player in this game, you got to start him. If you got any of these guys, Metcalf, Lockett, Chris Carson, guys like that, you got to play him in this game. Julio, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry. I mean, this is going to be a fantasy point parade. Number 15, Damian Harris, the Patriot running back. He had 23 carries last week for 100 yards. Did not get in the end zone. But if he does get into the end zone, he is a touchdown-dependent back. But we saw him get 3 targets out of the backfield. He caught 2 of them. So that is a good sign. But we all know James White has that role in that offense. He's got the Jets this week. It's going to be a run-heavy game. The Patriots are a run-heavy team. I mean, it seems like Mac Jones is always turning around, handing the ball off to Damian Harris. And Damian Harris makes plays. Got the Jets this week. You got to.
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of what you said there with the running backs. Pretty much everything was on point. And I do want to touch on that Eckler point a little bit. The dude had 0 targets, 0 catches last week. I mean, I could be wrong on the targets, but I know he had 0 catches last week. He had that much time on the field and only produced 11 points with it. That's terrifying if I'm an Eckler owner. That's actually really terrifying. But guys like Zeke and Najee, I don't think anyone's selling Najee, but guys like Zeke, buy low right now. If you can, buy low. Because I imagine
Aaron Jones as well.
Aaron Jones as well. You probably already missed the mark because the week's over, because I'm telling you. Now, if they dud again for some weird reason, they won't. But if they do, you go buy low as soon as you can, because that volume is there, their snap count is there, and you need to go chase them. But speaking of chasing, D-backs are going to be chasing some of these top wide receivers this week. Smooth ass segue right there. We're getting to my wide receiver rankings right now. Number 1, Tyreek Hill versus Baltimore. I love Tyreek Hill. He is on my fantasy team. He's so fun to watch. He is so electric, and I think he is going to be the X factor here for Kansas City. People were saying that Travis Kelsey is the number 1 guy. He's the best receiver on the field. My ass. Tyreek Hill is the best receiver hands down on the field, because he makes plays happen from out of nowhere. I don't care if Marlon Humphrey is going to be guarding him. Marlon Humphrey was getting burned by K. Jones last week. Who cares about him? Tyreek Hill, number 1 for me. Number 2, Adams versus Detroit. Yes, I know Adams versus Detroit is a cheat code. He always does good against the Detroit Lions, but I don't care. Aaron Rodgers scared me last week, and I think Aaron Jones is going to be a bigger part of this offense than Davante Adams. Not saying that Davante Adams is going to be bad at all. Still going to be good. I don't think he's going to be better than Tyreek. Number 3, your stud of the week, DK Metcalf. Right up here above guys like Keenan Allen, D-Hop, Diggs. He's going to be phenomenal this week against Tennessee. I think he could finish as a wide receiver 1 this week, and I wouldn't be surprised, because Tennessee's defense is almost as bad as the 2020 Dallas Cowboys defense. And, when he played us, he had a pretty good game against them. So, yeah, I expect a huge day here from Metcalf against Tennessee. 4, I got Keenan Allen versus Dallas. People might think this is a little bit too high. I don't think so. Keenan Allen is going to completely destroy us today. And it scares me, but I don't really care, because if you have him in fantasy, and I can't remember if I have him in some other leagues, Keenan Allen's going to be very good this week. He's going to be finishing in the top 5 easily, in my opinion. At 5, D-Hop versus Minnesota. If Kyler Murray continues to play like that, D-Hop ain't going nowhere. It's DeAndre Hopkins. He's arguably, in my eyes, the best wide receiver in the league. And he's always going to be up there, because he produces like that with a quarterback like Kyler Murray. He's always going to be reliable. 6, give me Stephon Diggs. He fell a little bit compared to last week, just because the Bills offense just really didn't get it moving. And they do play a pretty rough defense here in Miami. They do have one of the better secondaries in the league with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. But I don't expect that to be a problem here for Diggs. I expect Diggs to still be that top 10 safe wide receiver. At number 7, give me Justin Jefferson against Arizona. Yes, I know Adam Thielen had 30 last week. I don't care. That's not going to keep on happening. Do not get scared if you're a Justin Jefferson owner. Some people were already selling him. Some people that I know traded him, and I know that probably really hurt them. But, you got to make certain moves to acquire certain guys. And unless the means justify the ends, or the ends justify the means, however you say it, Justin Jefferson is your stud guy, and he's going to be 7 on the wide receiver rankings for me this week against Arizona. At number 8, I got Calvin Ridley. I know a lot of people probably looked at me funny in retrospect, saying that I thought Calvin Ridley was going to be my stud of the week. I'm sorry. I didn't think the Eagles are going to come out playing like elite contenders, because they did, at least comparative to the Atlanta Falcons, because they suck. The Atlanta Falcons suck. I'm sorry if you're a Falcons fan, but honestly, if you're a Falcons fan at this point, stop being one, because they suck. The only redeeming quality of this offense is Calvin Ridley.
Somebody's commenting right now.
Honestly, Calvin Ridley might dud again this week, because Matt Ryan didn't play good. Kyle Pitts didn't play good. And if Kyle Pitts, one of the most gifted tight ends I've ever seen, isn't producing, That's got to be something with the quarterback play there. And if Calvin Ridley doesn't start making some magic happen, or more specifically, Matt Ryan doesn't start making some magic happen, I wouldn't be surprised Ridley take a hit here just because that offense is just bad because the Falcons suck. At number 9, I got A.J. Brown versus the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, I had him a little high last week because I thought that Tennessee offense was going to get yardage. They didn't, sadly. And I think A.J. Brown will do that this week against Seattle. Significantly worse defense, and they don't have Chandler Jones going for 15 million sacks in a single game. So, yeah, I think A.J. Brown's going to have a good week here, go back to his usual form. At 10, call it a hot take. It isn't at this point after last week. The man got, 15, 17 targets? At number 10, give me CeeDee Lamb against the Chargers, man. This is a young secondary. And even though Cooper had the better week here, Lamb got more targets. I'm pretty sure Lamb got more targets. I could be crazy here. He had some drop problems. That scares me. But him coming out the slot, I think, is going to be a little bit more dangerous than Coop on the outside, but they're both going to be fantastic this week. I just got Lamb a little bit higher than Coop. At number 11, I got Allen Robinson against Cincinnati. Man, Allen Robinson could easily be in the top 5 this week, but I can't rank him over certain guys just because the quarterback play is horrible. Why is Andy Dalton still playing? I do not know why. Justin Fields played better than him in one snap. In a couple of snaps, Justin Fields looked better than an entire game from Andy Dalton. But at number 11, I'm going to have Allen Robinson here against Cincinnati. The secondary isn't good. Don't fool yourself. They still gave up a lot of points against Minnesota. They were still taken into overtime. And I think Allen Robinson here is still going to shine for the Bears no matter what. At number 12, dude, prime AB looked like he was about to make a big return against the Cowboys. And he's going to be here at number 12 against the Falcons. Another guy who could be top 5. I mean, Antonio Brown looked so phenomenal against the Cowboys. It was just big play after big play after big play, a huge touchdown. And versus Atlanta, I feel bad for Falcons fans because once again, you suck, and the Bucs are going to destroy you. Honestly, I probably shouldn't even had Ridley that high over guys like AB and Godwin just because the production probably won't even be there. But Ridley's the number 1 guy there. I can't not do that and just put him outside of the top 10. It just doesn't feel right with me. But AB here, steadily creeping up the list at 12. It's not a psycho thing to say anymore. Number 13, give me Tyler Lockett. Big game, a lot of big plays last week, and Tennessee is the type of defense that was giving up big play after big play. So I expect Metcalf to be the target monster here. But Lockett will have some big plays and finish inside the top 15 easily, in my opinion. Here at 14 for the wide receivers, I've got Amari Cooper against the Los Angeles Chargers. I said that Lamb wasn't going to be too far ahead, and Cooper, he played phenomenal. He played absolutely phenomenal. I haven't seen him play that good since Dak was healthy. Man, I love Dak Prescott. He makes the receivers around him so much better, and he's just a fantasy god because he just gives points to guys that are all around him, unless your name is Ezekiel Elliott. Cooper Kupp could be on this list. He played phenomenal alongside Stafford, but I'm going to have to give the edge to Chris Godwin here at 15. It was very difficult because even though Indiana didn't play great, I think Indiana is going to be a better defense than Atlanta. And so I got to go with the stack here with AB and Godwin on this list, just like I did with Coop and Lamb. I think they're both going to have phenomenal games. I just think Brady is going to spread the love a lot more to guys like Gronk and Mike Evans. I don't think Mike Evans is going to have future Pro Bowler Trayvon Diggs completely clamping him for 2, 3, however many hours, because that's what happened last week. Mike Evans couldn't do anything against Trayvon Diggs. I don't think there's anybody on this Atlanta defense that can do that. So I think Brady's going to be spreading the love a little bit more. It's going to be a little bit more spaced out, but I do still think AB and Godwin will be the top receivers coming out of this offense. But like I said, just like last week, there's going to be guys from top-tier teams like Cooper Kupp that are going to shine. So just because they're not on the 15, if they're close to it, if they're close enough, play them. But, I mean, if it's a choice between Cooper and AB, that's something that's just play them both if you can, because they're going to be phenomenal. There's so many great matchups this week. And when it comes to matchups, QBs, it's really essential when you play your QB, especially if you're a streamer, that you play the QB in the green matchup. Because if you play in against a team like Washington, can't even say Washington because they played horrible on Thursday night. But QBs, the matchups matter. So why don't we get right into our QB rankings with Joey?
Let's talk some quarterbacks. I like that receiver list. Whoever thought that Antonio Brown would be the wide receiver 1 on the Buccaneers, but I love it though. Let's get into the quarterbacks. Number 1, Kyler Murray versus the Vikings. He was the QB1 last week with 34 fantasy points. 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did throw an interception. It kind of hurts numbers, but I mean, it wouldn't have been too much better than 34. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. Playing another weak secondary, the Vikings have not proved themselves yet. I thought they were going to be a lot better on defense, but Joe Burrow even carved them up. Lamar Chase was getting blown coverages like crazy. Patrick Mahomes, like I said on the last episode, he's in that primetime matchup. He just lives for those moments. He's going to shine. Number 3, how about the GOAT Tom Brady up here again? He's playing against Atlanta. He's not going to be up here that much this high in the top 3, but I mean, the matchup is it's so easy for Brady, and he's got the weapons around him to just get fantasy points. I mean, there's nothing else more to say. Josh Allen, he's going to have a bounce back week. Josh Allen, not the performance you were hoping for if you drafted him in the 5th or 6th round. But he's got Miami this week. A little bit of an easier matchup than the Steelers. Well, a lot of an easier matchup. Number 5, Lamar Jackson versus the Chiefs. Lamar had 2 fumbles, which hurt his fantasy numbers depending on your fumble points in the league. 4 to 6 points, whatever you do. But I mean, he's still a good game. He did not get in the end zone with his legs. He did throw a touchdown though. The Ravens ran the ball a lot, which kind of hurt Lamar. But I think this is gonna be a high scoring game against the Chiefs, and he's going time. Russell Wilson versus the early in the season, and Russ is gonna cook. That's what that means. Once we get to about week 7 or 8, he might not be on this list anymore. But right now, he's cooking. Number 7, Dak Prescott versus the Chargers. 400-yard game last week, 28 fantasy points. He's going to be a consistent quarterback all year as long as he's healthy. One of the most consistent fantasy quarterbacks that there is. He's got a good matchup against the Chargers, too, who they got Derwin James back, but their secondary is still not the best. And it's going to be a high-scoring game. Looking like the Cowboys are going to be down for some of the game, so Dak's going to be launching it. Number 8, Jalen Hurts is in here again. He's playing the 49ers. We saw Jared Goff put up 28 fantasy points last week. I don't see why Jalen Hurts couldn't break out for 30-plus this week. Number 9, let's go with Justin Herbert on the other side of that matchup against Dak. Like we said, it could be a shootout. I think it will be a shootout. And what other better fantasy quarterbacks to have than Herbert and Dak going at it? That's going to be a hell of a game. Number 10, Stafford versus the Colts. Stafford was just bombing the ball. He looked more confident than ever with these new weapons. I mean, this is like a kid waking up on Christmas, seeing his new toys, and he just went rampant. He was bombing the ball. He's got the Colts this week. Slightly better secondary than the Bears, but Stafford's going to be throwing the ball, man. He's going to be getting some big plays.
All right, all reliable for the QB is tight end. And pretty much the most reliable thing here for your fantasy team is going to be the tight end. If you can rely on your tight end to give you that reliable 13, 15 points per game, you got yourself an elite tight end. So let's get into the top 10 tight ends for this week. Starting off, Travis Kelsey. Wow. Number 2, Darren Waller. Once again, wow. 3, give me TJ Hawkinson. Dude, man, that man played phenomenal against the Niners. 25 fantasy points. The man continues to just prove me right. The TJ Hawkinson is starting to become one of my more favorite players in the league. He's an electric tight end. At number 4, I got George Kittle against Philadelphia. Look, if this Niners team can't get it done against Philly, their offense is going to be a lot more shaky than I think a lot of people think they will. I mean, Kittle could have a big week because he had a phenomenal week against Philadelphia last year. For some reason, I just don't see it happening here. I think Philly is a better team than they were last year. At number 5, people are going to think this is a pretty hot take, but compared to what Gronk did to Dallas, might get hot on me here, but Jared Cook at 5. Man had 11 fantasy points last week and could get into the end zone once or twice against Dallas, and he really looks like to be another Hunter Henry, another copy and paste guy. He's fitting in that system to where they just need that guy that can check down to occasional medium big plays. And I think Jared Cook is a talent like that compared to Hunter Henry. And he'll do that to Dallas. He definitely will hurt us a lot. At number 6, I'm going to have Mark Andrews. I think Kansas City is going to do a good job covering Mark Andrews into the fact because let's look at Tyrann Mathieu, one of the better coverage safeties we've seen in a while, and I do think he will be picking up a lot on Mark Andrews, and I think that's going to tank his stock just a little bit here. So Mark Andrews at 6. At number 7, I got Gronk against Atlanta. Look, I know he had a fantastic target share last week, 2 touchdowns. I mean, like almost 30 points from Gronk, and we got prime Gronk there. But this is a worse secondary here. Like I said, with the wide receivers, the love is going to be spread out. And, AB, Godwin, and Evans are still going to be the majority of the targets here. Gronk's probably still going to get into the end zone. So, yeah, definitely play Gronk, no doubt, this week. At number 8, I got Noah Fant versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville sucked against tight ends last year, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. So, yeah, Fant got a good amount of targets last game, and I do expect that to keep on happening. At number 9, and Tyler Higbee got a lot of targets. 6 targets for tight end is really good.
I was waiting for that one. I'm glad you put that on the list.
Tyler Higbee, he looks good, and he got red zone targets too. So I'm gonna put him here at 9. He could crawl up that list, but it seems like Matt Stafford likes his tight end and Tyler Higbee, and I don't think he would be a bad stream here. At number 10, another guy that loves his tight ends, that's Dak Prescott. And man, Dalton Schultz, when he is thrown to, the man comes down with the ball almost 100% of the time. I mean, he has just got hands of glue. He trucks through everything. He is such a gifted tight end. I think he's very underrated. He's very talented for us. He had a big season last year, and I do expect that type of production to come back with the Los Angeles Chargers because I'm pretty sure Logan Thomas had a pretty good play against them, and I do expect Dalton Schultz to get up there. And of course, I don't have Logan Thomas on this list. He would be on this list, but he already played. That's how it was with all these other rankings. So just because I make that comparison here doesn't mean I'm saying Schultz is better than Thomas because he's not. But a lot of comparisons are brought up to guys who we think that can be sleepers. And you always see guys like maybe not the caliber of James Robinson and Justin Jefferson, but guys who are able to produce that come off the wire. So it's back. We didn't forget about it. Waiver wire pickups of the week. I'm going to start off Jacoby Myers, 9 targets for Jacoby Myers. And he's not even that widely owned by guys. Dude, pick up Jacoby Myers if you need a receiver. I know Jerry Jeudy just went on IR. I know Brandon Ayuk is dealing with some troubles right now. Hell, the dude didn't put up a single point on Sunday. And I do think Jacoby Myers is going to be a huge pickup for you. If he gets targets like this from Mac Jones, that connection was there in the preseason, and it's starting to translate to the regular season very, very quick here. 9 targets, can't deny that. Go pick up Jacoby Myers right now.
I'm going to be diving deeper into the cookie jar. Bryan Edwards for the Raiders. The Raiders need a second receiving option besides Darren Waller, and Bryan Edwards, I think, is going to fill this role. You got to get him now. And you got to get him. Click off the video right now and go pick up Bryan Edwards, unless you're like in an 8-man league where you can't afford to get somebody like that. But I think this guy's going to break out this year. I truly do. 3rd-round pick for the Raiders, and they like him. Derek Carr likes him. He was in a late game in one-on-one situations like he was Randy Moss or something. I mean, this guy is getting – he didn't get that many targets, but I think he is going to break out. Get him now before he breaks out so you can have him and bask in the glory of Bryan Edwards.
A lot of people are going to keep on saying, but what about Henry Ruggs? Henry Ruggs doesn't play that good with the Raiders. It could be that he's just not a good scheme fit, but man, Henry Ruggs has just not really played good. He's had big games. He's had big plays, of course. Wide receivers always do that, especially when you're as highly picked as Henry Ruggs and you have his speed. But to expect that he was going to be a Tyreek Hill type of guys, you're getting outshined by guys that no one's ever heard of. Trey Jones, Bryan Edwards outshine Henry Ruggs. And I do like that pickup a lot. When you look at guys who create big plays and who get a lot of targets, that's what you should target off the waiver wire. But guys, that is it for fantasy this week. Yeah, we know this is very early. This is a very early warning and early rankings list because this is on NFL Sunday morning. It's late. We understand it, but it's enough time. We're gonna put this out so you have enough time to adjust your lineup. So that is it for the week. Good luck. Week 1 was a high-scoring week. Week 2, knowing our luck, will probably be just a bunch of duds after duds after duds. Who knows? Who knows? And week 2, I think, is going to be very entertaining. There's a lot of good matchups here. So if you want our help, definitely use these rankings. And also, if you're going to use our rankings, it'd be pretty rude for you to not leave a like, subscribe, make sure you have notifications on once again. If you don't see these rankings before the week starts, how are you going to win your week without the Heat Check podcast? You're not going to win your week. You're screwed. Yes, exactly. Joey said it fantastically. So make sure you do have those notifications on, subscribe, because if you did miss out, guess what? Sorry, you just took an L this week. All right. And don't screenshot this to me when you actually win and just didn't watch our rankings. All right. I don't need to see that. Okay. But thank you guys for watching the Heat Check podcast. Peace.